Integrate mindfulness into your financial planning to achieve the Zen of budgeting. Begin by instituting regular financial reviews, creating space to observe and adapt your spending habits into alignment with your goals and values. This nurtures a mindful connection with your money, steering you away from impulse purchases toward more meaningful expenditures. Pause and reflect before each purchase to ensure it aligns with your long-term objectives, promoting intentional spending. Cultivate gratitude for your current possessions, which can diminish the desire for unnecessary items and foster financial contentment. Employ budgeting apps or journals to diligently track your finances, providing a transparent overview that aids in making informed decisions. Visualize achieving your financial goals and stay motivated and connected to your budgeting journey. Incorporate stress-reducing techniques like meditation to manage financial anxiety, helping prevent rash decisions. Embracing these practices can transform your approach to money management, leading to a more aware, purposeful, and satisfying financial life. Amanda, I read about a time when you had debt and your mom helped you with a budget. It seems like oftentimes people are intimidated by the idea of creating a budget, but your mom was able to simplify that process for you. Can you share what that was like?
Yes, I this is hearkening back to a time in my 20s when, gosh, I had everything on my mind except for what to do with my money. I only wanted to avoid it for me. I was so sensitive to the constraint aspect of the limitation. And I was very rebellious against that sense of constraint. And it really showed up in my money. So I was highly avoidant. I did not open bills on time. Things were late. Things were a real mess. And one of the things but then I was in this boom bust cycle where like suddenly something would happen. Like I'd be very worried about a particular bill or debt, and I would send all of the money that I had toward that debt, only to leave myself with not enough then to cover the other aspects of my life. And of course, I was very ashamed of this. I did not want to tell anybody, let alone my mother, about this, but it kind of all came tumbling out in this very dramatic experience where she gave me a haircut and it was awful. And I had to admit that I couldn't go back to my hairdresser because I had bounced a check there. So kind of like my house of secrets, my house of cards came tumbling down. And what my mom showed me in setting up this initial plan for my money, which I then took and ran with, was the idea that I could budget for my needs, that a budget was not an instrument of punishment. It was not just a tool of no, that in fact, the healthier way to approach budgeting is to think of it as a tool of yes. What is it that I want to say yes to with my money? And that included budgeting enough money for myself so that I could get out of this boom and bust cycle, so that I could feel like I had the power to really direct money toward the things that were important to me, to treat my needs as important, which was a lesson that I really needed to learn, and money helped me learn. And that really was, I would say that healthy budgeting exercise, and also kind of coming clean and having some support and being more honest, and not so shut down with shame. All of those lessons happened at the same time for me around managing cash flow. And that was the thing that really started me on this financial wellness journey, was really confronting a lot of those limiting misconceptions about what a budget can be. Oops, Andy's muted.
You got your mute, Andy.
I hate it when I do that. What I was saying is that I love that realizing the power of the budget actually setting you free rather than being something that's limiting or restrictive. That's really powerful. I just want to take a moment to introduce our panelists who just joined. My friend Kate Horrell, who I haven't seen also in ages. Kate is an accredited financial counselor, chartered financial consultant, and founder of King's High Media. She helps military families to maximize their pay and benefits. Her blog, resources, and products provide personal finance education tailored to the unique needs of active service members, veterans, and their families. Kate, I'm sorry that maybe my emails ended up in spam, but I'm glad that you're here. Welcome to Inspired Money.
Thanks for letting me join, even though I'm late.
Better late than never. So I'm going to give you just a chance to get acclimated. And I want to ask Grant, the FIRE movement often advocates pretty aggressive saving strategies. How important is mindfulness and how can it be implemented?
I think one of the nice things about the FIRE movement is this sort of focus on, spending more time with your money. I think that's what it comes down to. And so however you do that, when you're focusing on things like increasing your net worth and trying to make more money and invest your money, naturally you build a more intimate relationship with money. And then through that relationship, it's just like an old friend where you start to get comfortable with it. You start to see things in that person that you didn't see before. And I think so much of this comes down to really starting to trust your intuition more than your mind. I think oftentimes when we start with money, we're just really analytical. We're trying to put everything in its place. We're trying to look for all of these connections. But when you start to trust your intuition more, you don't have to think as hard about, do I want to spend money on this? Do I want to spend money on that? You sort of know what you want and what you need and who you are. And that can take time. It's just, even like building a meditation practice, at first when you sit down, your mind is all over the place and it's so hard to let go of your thoughts. And the same thing with money. It's very, very difficult when you just come to it and you're thinking about it all the time. And you spend so much of your brain power thinking about it. But the nice thing that happens is as you do save more money and have more money in the bank, you start reclaiming some of that part of your brain. And then you can think about other things and focus on other things. So the nicest thing for me, I think, when I started my financial independence journey and I was super stressed out, about 80% of my waking hours, I was thinking about money. Once I reached financial independence, now probably less than 5% of my time I spend thinking about money. And that's just so much more time to do other things and to, expand into your life and grow in different ways when you don't have that focus.
That's definitely a sign that you're doing things right. Do you think you can trust your intuition at the outset, or do you really need to do research and learn about like good personal finance best practices before you can actually trust your instinct?
Yeah, I think deep down from the beginning, we all know what we need. And it's really about taking the time to focus on that. Oftentimes, money, it's our interface with the external world. And so it's a way for us to buy something from the outside. It's a way for us to buy things to have some external experience. But I think from the beginning, most people know what they need. And I think there's a lot of people out there that feel stuck in their lives or they feel stressed about money. And that's really the starting point. If you feel stuck, it's because you are. If you're unhappy at your job, that's your intuition telling you that it's not right and that you perhaps need to make a change. So I think people should trust their intuition much, much earlier on. And it just gets stronger. You sort of, it's like having any form of self-confidence. When you take a risk or you do something different, and then you get more joy on the other side, you feel a little more confident in your intuition and that it led you in the right place. But I think deep down, most of us really know what we need and know what we should be doing. And even when we don't, when we're hiding from money or chasing money, it often is just a mask for something else that we need in our life, because we're so conditioned to just chase money as the next thing. And so, the more time that you spend with it, the more you realize kind of how much of an illusion it is, how much power it has on other people in the world. And the more that you're able to let go of that and the more experience you have with that, the easier it becomes. Money becomes something that's quite easy to get and, something that's quite easy to manage and maintain. But it takes some time to get there. You have to learn how to, certainly not let it be the driving force in your life.
Thank you. Andy, in your journey from debt to wealth, how important was the role of reflecting before spending?
Very, very, very important for both my wife and I. I think that in the beginning of our relationship, We were very happy to be earning anything and then combining our money together and then just enjoying life. And that's what money can be used as a tool to enjoy life. And that's fantastic. It wasn't until we learned that we were going to be parents that something sort of flipped in our brain that said, okay, we're not just responsible for our own joy and happiness today. We're responsible for our financial future as well as the financial future of our daughter that's coming into the world. And for me, that became like my driving point to say, okay, how can we use most of our money for fun and the stuff that we want to use, but some of it for these bigger goals that we have as a couple, these bigger goals that we have for our daughter in the future. And with that North Star, as Grant's talking about, those things that are most important to you, we allocated our money accordingly to make that transition. Now, was that easy to go from spending everything you have on fun to moving towards an area where you're saving some for the things that you need in the future? No, it wasn't easy, but with time, it became easy. So I think a lot of us get excited about going from 0% savings rate to a 50% savings rate like that, and it's like, that's pretty impossible. You have to kind of gradually move your body in that phase and to get used to it and get used to becoming a spender, get used to becoming a saver, get used to becoming somebody who gives a little bit more, and then over time it becomes easier.
That's a pivotal moment, having a child, for a lot of people, right? That's like the wake-up call. I need to be an adult now. I need to make wise choices and plan for the future. What kind of changes did you have to make to your budget? Like, what did it look like once it goes from not being all going towards fun?
Yeah, I think a big part of it, we were lucky that, when my wife and I got together, I was making, call it like $60,000, something like that. And then when I got married, I married a woman who was making pretty much the same thing. So we doubled our income and then we moved in together. We shared food. We shared all those things. So it just became a cash explosion for us because we were used to living on less. And so for us, it was just spending and having fun. And so when we had that idea, we said, okay, what can we do? Let's pare down some of the obvious things. You're pregnant, so we're not going out as much. we're pulling back on the partying and the restaurants and things like that. That could be a little easy transition. But some of the other things that were a little more difficult, we're saying no. Saying no became very, very difficult for us because we had said yes to so many things before with friends and families and vacations and things like that. So saying no became a difficult thing for not only us, but then also for the people we were saying no to. But we knew when we were saying no to that situation, we were saying yes to a brighter future for our relationship and a brighter future for our daughter.
Kate, what unique financial challenges do military families face? Oh, I think she's muted. You're muted.
Great question. Just like every other family on the planet, right? We have some unique challenges and we have some unique opportunities. The challenges for many military families are the military spouse underemployment rate and unemployment rate is crazy high relative to the civilian population. The statistics don't necessarily break down details as well as I would like them to, but it is quite obvious that the effects of moving every 1 to 3 years are going to impact somebody's educational or professional, career development. And then when you factor in the fact that often the spouse is solo parenting a huge amount of time, that also impacts sometimes their financial opportunities. And then just the sheer cost of moving every few years. Even though military families do have pretty generous allowance system that should, in theory, cover all those costs, that doesn't always work out exactly that way. So yeah, we have some unique challenges, but we also have a little bit more job security in some cases. And the military pay structure gives you pretty regular increases in pay that are predictable, which is super great for things like ramping up those savings rates.
That's great. Thank you for the background and context for those of us who are not in the military. Let's move on to the next segment.